Hey everybody, how you doing? Tacoma Comics here, and it is time for Bourbon and Bullshit, episode 11. Just trying to see if I can find it. There we go. Now I can bullshit watch myself. How you all doing out there? So we got a lot of stuff to go over today. We got our segment called The Hustle. We're going to talk a little bit about this Saturday morning cartoon crew. New crew on the scene, bunch of light hitters, soft as a feather, coming there for the giggles and the fun as much as the big comics and the hard money. So not a contender for the highlights in the top spot. Just a bunch of groups, just a bunch of people trying to have fun with comics. And I'll talk a little bit more about the Saturday morning cartoon crew as we get into it. Got some comics to go over here, collectibles. Got some reviews to go over here. And I thought I would just go through my newsstand collection. I'll explain about my newsstand collection and exactly what it means to collect a newsstand and why newsstands are collectible and why you hear people yelling out newsstand every once in a while, as you sometimes do, especially if you're listening to C. Woodard. But first of all, to begin, we are here to talk about bourbon. Today's bourbon is Larceny. It's a small batch, 92 proof. I better watch myself, watch my behavior. It's a wheated bourbon mash bill. I don't know what mash bill means. Wheated means that it has more wheat than rye, obviously, but as I've gone over before in the show, to be a bourbon and not just a whiskey, you have to be made from at least 50% or greater corn. So when we talk about wheat versus rye, we're talking about the other 50%. So Larceny is a Kentucky bourbon from Fitzgerald Distillery. And the story, the legend, as it were, John E. Fitzgerald's weakness was fine bourbon. There's a whole story here to make you want to drink it more. As a treasury agent, who at the time was the only person legally allowed to carry keys to the rick houses, he gave in to temptation, freely taking from the best barrels in each rick house. Those that contained wheated bourbon, bourbon made with wheat instead of the traditional rye, these eventually became known around the distillery as Fitzgerald barrels. Now, Larceny Bourbon honors both the superb taste of this lawless treasury agent and the legacy of the old Fitzgerald brand. So somehow, drinking this, because it has the word larceny, and I've read this, I'm supposed to feel like some sort of outlaw. I honestly don't know where they get this stuff from, but you got to come up with some story, right? So, smells smooth and rather sweet. If you were here last week, you know my palate for bourbon is nowhere near as refined as my palate for wine. I'm pretty good with reds and with a lot of whites, picking out notes of different fruit and stuff. Bourbon's a new game to me, and I definitely am not familiar with the flavors. So let's see how I do. Not very spicy, at least not on the nose. Definitely a sweet smelling one. Wow. It is spicy on the tongue, though. Back in the tongue, even the sides, and even came back up into my nose. I did better last time because I can't, maybe a little bit of a licorice flavor there. I'm not too sure what I can tell you about this one. So let's see what we got. Larceny Bourbon taster notes. A very pleasant blend of cherries, Benedictine, corn, sweet maltiness, and a touch of oak and spice. First up, we have some molasses, caramel, and vanilla. Mix in some cherries, spice cider, citrus, sugared malt, sugar daddies. I don't want sugar daddies anywhere near my bourbon. And a hint of spiced lemon cake. All right. Out of all of that, let's begin with, they say first up. I definitely had a sweet smell on my nose. I don't know that I would have identified it as molasses or caramel or vanilla. Maybe vanilla, but that's really a stretch and probably me fooling myself having read this. Um, After that, the Benedictine, yes, almost like the spiciness of like a strong NyQuil or cough syrup, without the heavy syrupiness. Uh, Corn, no. Cherries, no. Sweet maltiness, not really. Touch of oak, no. Spice, I'd say more, not even a touch of spice. It's a pretty spicy bourbon. Um, and then I told you about the molasses, caramel, and vanilla. Mix in some cherries, hell no. Spiced cider, again, spiciness. Citrus, no. Sugared malt, no. Sugar daddies, no. And here's the funny thing, a hint of spiced lemon cake, I understand where they get that from. That actually makes sense as part of what they're describing. But yeah, for the most part, oh, how am I going to get back to this now? I've got my stuff all over the place. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? For the most part, I was batting pretty much around 10%, 20% uh, with this. It's nice. I like it. If you drink it straight, it goes down the throat smoothly. If you swish it around the mouth, you get the spiciness on the sides of the tongue and the back of the tongue. I think this is one I would definitely use in an old fashioned and add myself some sweetness, a little bit of orange peel to it, just to touch up those flavors that supposedly, according to the tasting notes, exist in it. Lisa, what are you drinking? You drinking anything with us tonight? And how you doing anyway? Long time no see. Got some information for you on upcoming auctions if you stick with us. And it looks like we got 2 viewers here. So if you got somebody else in the audience, make yourself known so I don't feel so alone. All right, next up today, before I go into the hustle, I just wanted to talk about this little spec I've been doing. You know, we talked about previews as counting or not counting, and there was that big controversy when the Marvel's preview magazine with the Miles, the Miles Morales preview sold for like just sweet tea. Hey, that's good enough for me, man. I can't do the sweetness. I'm on the keto diet, but I definitely understand, especially if it's hot out there in the Bronx. I know that it's cool here today, so nice bourbon is just what I need. Anyway, there is that Miles spec, and then I've got I don't have up there. I've got the Marvels preview with the first Kamala Khan. I almost said Kamala Harris, first Kamala Khan, but those are generally not looked upon by collectors as like real, true first appearances. This Strange Academy preview, in my mind, is different. And so, first of all, it exists across, I believe, 4 different comics, 4 or 5, on the Miles, on the Ravencroft, on Daredevil, on the Avengers, on Thor 2, which I don't have, and on Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme issue 1. Now, the reason why I think this counts as first appearance, at least has a strong contention for a true first appearance, is that they don't just preview Strange Academy. In the back of this Avengers comic is Strange Academy. So it's not like the old Marvel previews where they're like, hey, look at what's coming out. There is 4 or 5 pages of straight comic. Right, so you see Zelma Stanton meets this girl Emily in the streets of New Orleans. Emily is one of the main characters, so there's one first appearance, and clearly speaking parts, multiple panels, so it's not a cameo. You see the academy, the Hogwarts, or the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, if you will. And then here you see a cameo of all the new class, including this big old giantess here. But then Doyle Dormammu down here gets a speaking part and gets a speaking part on the next page. So he is one of the breakout characters so far. I know it's only 2 issues in. He might turn out to be nothing, but I think there's a case to be made that this is a first appearance and not just a preview. you're seeing the actual characters in action. You're not seeing an advertisement for them. I know in Daredevil 215, there's an advertisement for Wolverine that predates 180. But I don't know, man. I think you can make a good argument that this is an actual first appearance of at least two or three of the characters and a cameo of all the characters, because people keep saying, oh, there's first appearance in Strange Academy, first appearance of Strange Academy. It's like, well, what are the characters? Did you read the book yet? No, the first appearances are Doyle Dormammu, and I don't remember all of them. That giantess I just pointed out, Emily, who's talking to Zelma Stanton, and a few others. There's some twins from the Bifrost up there in Thor lives. So it's kind of interesting to me. I don't know, man. Just thought I'd point that out. All right, let's go to our next segment. Thank you, John. Thank you for being here. Let's go to our next segment and check out The Hustle. See if I can. I cannot do this. I cannot do this with Discovery Bay finesse. I can just do this by fumbling around pushing buttons. But we are going to go to The Hustle, a segment we like to call The Hustle. All right. I know many of you are asking, what the heck is The Hustle? What is he talking about? Well, I'll tell you what The Hustle is, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about right here, right now, because you all deserve to know. The Hustle is me looking at the books that I buy that I try to flip. I know there is some segment of the population that is not a fan of flippers. They have a bad name. I think anybody that finds, let's just use an extreme example, anybody that finds a Hulk 181 for $600 is going to turn around and flip it for several $1,000s. Well, I don't operate at that level, and I'm not finding those books. What I try to do is I try to find smaller books while I'm on the hunt, because I love hunting for comics. And the ones that don't go into my PC, I flip. I do this through mystery packs at one pop culture store down here. I do this through half price books. I do this through comic shops that, missed a book or had it mislabeled or didn't know what they had. And then I go on auctions and I try to flip them. So last week we looked at This God Country #1, which I bought for $30. It's a variant to #1, but it's a first printing. It should go for more. I have not sold it yet. I bought this lot of Saga, and I sold them for quite a bit to Dave in the Cave, as well as some other Saga that were all duplicates that I had. Sold these two turtles, got them for about $2 each, sold them for $10. Have not sold these. I actually got several copies of Little Bird for $1. So this is not like every single book that I have. This is just a general idea so people can kind of see. Have not sold these two yet. I haven't put them up yet. So last Tuesday we looked at my overall, how I did in the first week of August, and I sold about $250 worth of comics, which left me $10 in the red. So then yesterday, or 2 days ago, I went down to an LCS and I was digging through the V's looking for some Venom, and he had these Visions, and he actually had two more I might go back and get, but $10 each. This is the first appearance of Viv and Viv Vision. This is the first issue in Tom King's Vision run. And this is an awesome hip hop cover to Wiz Khalifa. There's no way this particular book shouldn't go for more than $10, for 15 or 20 at least, next time I have an auction. So definitely up for that. Half price books yesterday. I got that Strange Adventures for $2. All of these are like $2 or $3, and there's some more books here that I didn't show because they were for the PC. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It came out to 14 because there were some other books. But that X Factor down there, a little bit dirty, but I cleaned it. You can see I cleaned it too much by the uh, X where the red is. You can see it's a little yellow there. Rubbed some color off, but it was a $2 book that I can sell for 5 or 10. First appearance of the Trench King. That Ravencroft I'll probably hold on to. Hawkeye Blind Spot is first. Clint Barton is not Clint Barton, his brother Bucky Barton as Trick Shot, and then just Strange Adventures. So some more books I might try to sell. So adding that to this, I am now at about $45. Sorry, did not mean to do that. About $45 in the hole in 2 weeks into August. And now keep in mind, the whole idea here is sell these books so that I break even. So any money that I make, I take from PayPal, put back into my checking account. Anything extra is for me to keep and to spend on bigger comics, hopefully without breaking our personal bank. Part of the problem is, Hudat had an auction, but 2 weeks ago he was sick. And it's hard to get on auctions. Discovery Bay, I'm a patron of Discovery Bay. He's been super busy, and I don't begrudge him that. Family first always. It's hard to get on those shows. Other people want you to be a patron to get on their shows, or their shows are just filled up. Biggie's is having some issues, so he's not taking any outside sellers on the Warriors auction. And so I was having just a little bit of frustration with this because I'm trying to show the hustle on my Tuesday night show. I'm not making any money to show how good I am at this. It shows like I'm not very good at it, which maybe I'm not. But I came up with the idea, and I talked to a few friends in the community, Shortbox Padawan and Lady Fantastic, Southern Comic Geek, and Adrian APM. And we have put together the Saturday morning cartoon crew. Shout out Nathaniel, aka the Dungeon Talk, for this awesome graphic he drew. That's Adrian down the bottom right, and that is Southern with the red split between them. Shorty has sort of a Venom with a Kylo Ren lightsaber as her thing, and then Lady Fantastic has a butterfly in a garden, and then mine is my son kicking my other son, and so my older son drew all that. So the idea is that we're going to hold an auction Saturday afternoon, starting 11 a.m. PST, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be heavily into cartoons and eating cereal, bowls of cereal, and just having a good time, making it a little bit less of a serious auction. A lot of dollar books, a lot of like runs, a lot of smaller things, not like going all out with like the big keys, and just having a good time and hopefully selling some books. So if you are around Saturday, definitely tune in. We're going to rotate it, but the first one is on my channel. Here is there. It took me forever to realize how to take off those square backgrounds in PowerPoint, but once I did that, I was super happy. But these are the actual avatars that my son used. So yeah, that is what we are doing on Saturday mornings. First one is this Saturday morning. Speaking of the auctions, I know John is on an auction with The Boy Who Had Seven tomorrow evening. I hope that works well. Anybody who wants to jump on, please jump on. I don't mind having guests on here because this is just bourbon and bullshit. And I reached out to Boy Who Had Seven. I'm like, hey man, you got some room? He's like, maybe next Wednesday. And I don't begrudge anybody anything. I totally understand. People fill up. You don't want to have 20 sellers because then as a seller, you have to wait like hours before your next turn and it becomes boring. So this is kind of why we came up with our own auction, because we didn't want to do an auction like Meta's got Monday, Wednesday, Friday night. Whodad's got Thursday nights. I know that somebody else is trying to start Thursday night. Thunder God's doing Thursday nights. Warriors have Tuesday nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You've got Strictly, you've got Thoro, you get tons of auctions everywhere. And that's great. It just it's getting a little crowded. All right, let's go into some reviews. Take another sip of that bourbon, see if the melted ice has melded any. So after the fact, I could say I taste a little bit of caramel, but that's like cheating because I know that's supposed to be one of the tasting notes. I just got it maybe because the melted ice watered it down. You didn't get that spiciness as much, but I don't know. Went over this the other day during a haul, but I just want to show it again. Meet the Scrolls is a really, really, really great read. It's a 5-issue series. It's about a scroll invasion, and John, I know you're into this one. It's about a scroll family who are impersonating a human family, and they are on the planet Earth to try to stop something called Project Blossom, which somehow is going to be a project that is trying to destroy the Scroll Empire. Um, but while they're doing that, they have to impersonate human beings, and they don't do as much with the parents. The parents are kind of more straightforward impersonators, but the kids, two daughters in school, are trying desperately to uh, fit in, but not to fit in because they want to fit in, but to fit in because that is their mission. And if they fit in, they will then be able to infiltrate the parents of the kids they're supposed to befriend and steal stuff from their safe or whatever it is they have to do as part of this like whole plan this scroll empire has in motion. And it's just it reminds me a lot of Tom King's Vision, right? It very much has that vibe. There is some great action, really great really great fight scenes and breaking in and stuff and fighting scrolls and Kree and stuff. But its best moments are focusing on these two girls. The one older girl has no problems fitting in. The younger girl just can't quite make that connection. The girls make fun of her. She's not sure what she's doing wrong. And while that might be something of a teen melodrama, like, oh, I'm so sad, I'm not a popular girl, when she gets home, it's clear that she has disappointed her father from the scroll side of things because she's not carrying out her part of the mission. So it's just a really good read. If you ever get chance to get your hands on it, I suggest it. If you ever get a chance to grab it as a trade, definitely do so. It's a really, really good book, really good read. I just want to check the chat here. Nope, it's the same here. Yeah, John, that is some great artwork. Nathaniel, he's pumping it up, but Katie and Charlie too, man. All them kids. If you missed it, our kids were on a live stream together. Crazy Click Radio. Shout out Crazy Click Radio. I'll drop a link in a minute. John, maybe you can drop. No, you can't drop a link because you're not a moderator. If you're still here, John, drop a link to Crazy Click Radio. I will add you as a mod. That might have got me in some trouble there. The other one, this is a new series, Sleeping Beauties. Check this out if you can. I'm loving Sleeping Beauties. This is really, really nice. Just a great little it's a great little comic. It is Stephen King and Owen King, Sleeping Beauties. So I didn't see that, so I don't know what they have to do with it. It's a really good point. But this is cover beach number 1. It's got this great artwork. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. It's got this great artwork. I mean, that's like really indicative of all the artwork. The writer is Rio Ewers. Allison Sampson is the artist. Coloring by Triona Tree Farrell, whom I know from other stuff. Letters by Krista Meisner and edited by Elizabeth Brie. And it's just, there's this sickness that is forming cocoons around females, women only, right? And what they've discovered too late in many cases is if you open up the cocoon to try to free the female, she turns into this bloodthirsty huntress destructor of everything. I mean, so here's a good picture of like the cocoon on the face of this one. And so like when they opened the cocoons, they found out some bad stuff went down like that. And so there's some connections to nature and forces of nature in here. It's not a straightforward comic. It's a comic that really leaves you thinking and trying to figure out what is going on there, what is happening. It gets a little deeper here now. There is the woman who was featured at the beginning of the first episode has actually now gotten herself in jail, but you quickly get the idea that she's meant to be there. And it's this woman right here and that look on her face, kind of like she's just a little bit above everybody and above everything, and that she's not quite like worried about the specific circumstances. And then look at this art. Just love the art in this. Absolutely love that. That's just such a great page, man. So yeah, it's really good art. But yeah, there's this idea that something is going on. So this I guess it's a social worker comes into the prison, right? There's a family trying to escape and save their daughter, but they don't want to rip open the cocoon. Then in another part here, there's where is it? I must have missed it. A guy comes into prison and she's like, "You're a social worker. I know your past. I know what you went through and why you did this." And he's like, "How do you know any of these things?" And obviously, there's something going on here. She's talking to him right here. And she's like, "You're one of the good guys." And he's like, "What the heck does that mean?" She's like, "Oh, you'll see." So there's a lot going on here, and it's not all straight revealed. But if you're looking for a really good indie book that's not as accessible as other books, but has just gorgeous, gorgeous artwork and a really sick story, Sleeping Beauties. That's my recommendation. For sure, for sure. I refuse to say for shizzle. A few more of these, and I might just say for shizzle. You never know. Let's take a look what's going on. So what I have here in this pile, right, is some newsstand comics. And I wanted to talk about newsstands for a second because it seems like there still might be some confusion about newsstand comics and what a newsstand means and where it comes from. So the basics, newsstand means it was sold on a newsstand, usually at like a Walmart or not a grocery store. It could be a grocery store, a pharmacy. In my case, as a kid growing up in the 80s, it was the local, we called them stationery stores. They kind of sold comics and gum and candy and some stationery products and balloons and all sorts of like ridiculous little knickknacks. There was Jack Stationery and Cornell Stationery, and that's where I used to go pick up my comics on a spinner rack, right? So before 1970 something, you only had comics like that. In the very late 70s, maybe early 80s, the direct market started, and the earliest direct market comics from Marvel still had the same barcode, but had a black line going diagonally. I can't do diagonal from here, diagonally across. And that meant that they weren't newsstand and they were actually direct market, which means they're sold to a comic specific shop. Slowly throughout the 80s, there were many different distribution services, and I'm not sure when Diamond took over the industry, so I'm not going to speak to that. But if you look at charts and people, you can find these on the internet, up until 1989, before 1989, here's 1989, before 1989, there were more newsstands. The direct market increased, and at 1989, the direct market and newsstands were equal in terms of distribution. So if somebody has a newsstand comic prior to 1989, it's not a big deal that it's newsstand. But if it's in good condition, that's important. And here's why. In 1984, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, I went to those stationery stores in my town before I ever went to a comic book shop. And every month I'd take my pocket money and I would take my newspaper route money and I would spend it on comic books. I would take those comic books and I would roll them up. Sometimes I would roll them up and hold on to the handlebar of my bicycle with a roll of comics in my hand so that I wouldn't fall off. Sometimes it'd be in a paper bag and I'd just roll the top of the paper bag and it would be swinging below my handlebars. Sometimes I'd be walking home from school and I'd have comics stuffed into my backpack. This is what happened to the majority of newsstand comics that were bought by kids in the 70s and 80s. So when there is a newsstand and a direct version of a comic book, if that newsstand is in good condition, that can make it more valuable because it was harder to keep newsstands in good condition. Plus, the newsstands were, for the most part, printed on thinner paper. They were printed on newsprint paper, and like the way most comics were up until the later direct market. Even the early direct market was printed on the newspaper, but the later direct market, they went to thicker, heavier cardstock style paper, while news comics were always printed on thinner paper, at least at first. So after 1989, that is when the newsstand market declined slowly at first. So if you found a newsstand in 1990, it wasn't a big deal. 92, 93. It's not until about 94, 95, 96 where you really started to see a drop off in newsstands. So that's what I specifically collect. I collect thousands of things. One of the things I'm trying to do is increase my later newsstand collection of comics. So I have a few here. And let me just show you a direct market barcode. Looks just like this, and we can go over another day what these numbers mean, but this is a direct market barcode. This is a newsstand barcode. Where is it? This is a newsstand barcode. Did I just do that upside down? This is a newsstand barcode, and this is a direct market barcode. So if you see the newsstand, it's usually fatter. It usually has smaller numbers, smaller amount of numbers, and just looks different. And as you do this more and more often, you get to notice it. Plus, the direct ones often say direct edition. These don't, but they usually do, or they sometimes do. So this is just a Strike Force. This is an Image comic from 1994 or 94, I think. So like I said, that's about as early as I'm going for newsstands. Got this cool Spider-Man. This is die cut. The jail bars are die cut here, laser cut. This is a newsstand from 95. Here's an X-Men 324. Again, this is a 1995 newsstand. Curse of the Spawn. This is a 1996 newsstand. One of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all the Spawns in newsstand. They went up to 130 something or 40 something, maybe 60 something was like the last newsstand edition they did. Here's some later Spawns. So we're getting like 96, 97. Capullo and McFarlane on 5, and then 48. Is that Capullo and McFarlane again? Tony Daniel. It's nice Tony Daniel there. Very cool. As we're moving along, 62. So probably like 1998. And gosh, if that doesn't look like Angela when she was still in Image. 68. And sorry, 98. Issue 68. I think this is 1998. And then this Witchblade, I believe, is 2001 or 1998. This great Witchblade cover, 1998. And then this Darkness as well, 1998. The granddaddy of them all is if you can get one of like the 2012 newsstands. Those are very, very difficult to find. Captain Marvel 17 came out in a newsstand. Avenging Spider-Man #9 came out in a newsstand. And those Clone Wars #1 came out in a newsstand. I found these great early 2000 Marvel Universe banner. I don't know anything about this book, but they're all like 2001 newsstands. This Spawn 79, another late one. Darkness, another late one. And here is the latest Spawn newsstand. I have 106, and I believe this is from 2001. All right, and so look, harder to keep them in good condition because they're flimsier paper and they just were not like treated really well. 2001, yep, 2001. And by 2001, I think they were going to bookshops in what's that bookstore? I can't think of it. It used to be in the malls a lot. Not like Barnes and Noble, but other bookstores in the malls and stuff. Found this great Spider-Man Aranya, The Hunter Revealed. I think this is 2006. Hey, we got 4 people watching here, and I have only heard, yep, 2006. I don't know if you can see it down there. I've only heard from Lisa and John. Say hello if you're here. Let us know what's going on. Click the link and join me. Let's chat up some comics, talk about what's going on. Now, this one is really cool. Totally dig this. It looks like they wanted to save themselves the trouble, and they printed both a direct sales and a newsstand barcode so that this particular book could be sold directly to a comic shop or could be sold directly to or sold to a newsstand. So this is a sort of like a thick bound, not quite a graphic novel, but a thick bound comic, Dark Risings, with Witchblade and Tomb Raider. Dark Crossing, sorry, with Witchblade, Tomb Raider, and Darkness. Darkness being a character, if you were unaware, unfamiliar, which I was unaware and unfamiliar with that, and that's okay. I can be unaware and unfamiliar of things. We're all learning. I'm learning. So I don't know what this one is. Betsy Ross, and this is 2006 as well. It's I don't even know what company this is from. This is from a lesser known press, but I kept that around because I believe that's the newsstand. And then finally, my top 2 favorites, though I certainly would like to have some others. I sold one I should have held on to. Look at this. X-Men Curse of the Mutants. Now, this is 2010. 10 years ago, find a newsstand copy. That is really tough. Like I said, the latest ones are, hey, nice job, Barbarian. ASM 569. Welcome, my friend. So if you look here, it actually says the word newsstand on because there were so few back then, and the barcode is kind of the same size. Even though it's the newsstand style, it's not that fatty box. It's this kind of thinner, sleeker box that the rectangle that the direct market ones are in. So I've got this Curse of the Mutants newsstand, which I think is really cool. I did have an Action Comics 1 from the new 52, and that's a 2011 newsstand, and I sold that one. I shouldn't have, but this is my other 2010 newsstand, Deadpool 1000. So totally digging that. I believe this, yeah, it says newsstand right there. And sometimes too, there's different prices between newsstand and direct market. Not always, but sometimes. So I just dig this kind of noir, Deadpool noir cover, right? Really great art. It's a super thick book. I know it's not actually issue 1000, so I don't know much about Deadpool and how the numbering of the different volumes went. The Maltese Bunny, but the fact that I've got a newsstand from 2010 on a thick Deadpool book in pristine condition makes me pretty darn happy. So yeah, that's my newsstand collection. That's one of the things I'm working on is getting rarer newsstands and trying to get newsstands in good condition, getting late year newsstands, because like I said, the later the year, the rarer the newsstands. Anything before 89 is not rare at all. Anything after 89 is starting to get less than 50%. Anything after about 95, 96, then you're really kind of struggling to find as many newsstands. And then those 2010s, they're almost like specialty newsstands. And then the last ones that I know of would be the 2012, like I said, I don't know when Clone Wars #1 was, but in 2012, there was the Captain Marvel 17 and a couple other of the big comics. Oh, Avenging Spider-Man #9 that came out in a newsstand version. I don't know what others came out then that like are lesser known. A lot of people consider the Walmart variants or the Walmart packs as newsstands because it's not a comic shop, right? It's the first time that you're sending comics to a store other than a comic book type store. Um, so um, whether or not those are actually newsstands or just direct market delivered to Walmart, I'm going to let somebody else answer that question. I don't particularly know. I don't think my Walmart gets comics, to be honest with you. Um, and I don't go to Walmart that often, like ever anyway. So I really haven't seen them, but it's interesting. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think about that. And let me know what else is going on. You got a sweet hookup on a 2011 newsstand. Don't keep us in suspense. What was it? What comic was it? Let us know. Tell us what it was that you got, because inquiring minds want to know. My broker is E.F. Hutton, and E.F. Hutton says, some of you will get that joke, some of you won't. I think Barbarian will. What else have people been picking up? What else have people been getting? I'll show you a couple books I got today. If you hold on 1 second, because I got to go grab them. Almost. So I grabbed Adventure Man #2. This came out like a week or two ago. I already got Adventure Man 1, and it was just okay. Because I like Matt Fraction so much, I decided I would give this a chance. The artwork is by, covering up. The artwork is by Terry and Rachel Dodson, who are just a great husband and wife art team. Done great work on Defenders, on X-Men, on tons and tons of stuff. I hope it's good. I don't think the story is as original as Matt thinks it is. So I'm going to give it a read. If I don't like it after 2, won't add it to my pull. I'll never read it again, but just thought I'd give it a try and see. And then the other thing I got some of those Strange Academy ones I showed you. Which one did I pick up today? I picked up the Avengers today, and I got another Daredevil. If anybody has Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme #1 that has the Strange Academy on it, let me know, because I'm definitely looking for that. Oh, okay. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome, Barbarian. I'd love to find that place. The place that I go to usually end up getting like those 2005, I thought those 1995, 1996 image books. Not incredibly rare, but still pretty cool. The other thing I got today, which I thought was pretty cool, is LCS. I don't go to too often because it usually has pricier books. But I got this Far Sector variant, which I'd love to see the print run on this. I know that Far Sector is taken off, and I love it. It's an amazing read, but I didn't see this B cover out a lot, and I haven't seen other variants. I don't know if they did any incentive ratios. I know DC isn't big on that, but I haven't seen anything else besides this B cover. Then I also got the second printing of #1, so I now have A, B, and second printing, which is pretty darn cool. And yeah, man, that's it. I'll show you guys some original art. I should be on Comic Books NYC show for original art. There's the original art of this Saturday morning cartoon crew. Like I said, we'll be kicking off our first auction on my channel Saturday at 11 a.m. PST, 2 p.m. if you're on the East Coast, and either 1 or 12 if you're Mountain or Central. Let us know. That's Shortbox Padawan, Lady Fantastic, Adrian APM, Southern Comic Geek. I had a little brain fart for a second, and myself. And we've decided that we want to keep it down to the 5 of us, or 5 sellers. If one of us is absent, we'll try to get a replacement seller. But if all 5 of us are going to be there, we don't want to go to we don't want to go to 6 or 7 sellers because it gets ridiculous. If you've ever been on an auction where there are that many sellers and you're waiting in the background, it just kind of takes forever, man. You're just sitting there waiting, 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 waiting. So yeah. So let's see. Coming up on 45 minutes. Don't have a lot more to go over. Been kind of quiet tonight. We had about 10 people last week. We got about 3 people today, and that's okay. I want to give a shout out to Barbarian Kung Fu. Thank you, my friend, for hanging with us. Lisa Noble. Lisa, I think I still have a package for you, or did I send it off? I can't remember. But either way, got an auction coming up on Saturday. John's Comics with Kids. He jumped in here, complimented my shirt, as well as said, do the hustle. And that's great. And that's all there is. So we drank some Larceny bourbon today. We missed almost all of the tasting notes, showing that either my palate is horrible or that bourbon tasting notes are just pretentious and overwrought and not true at all. One of those things is true, or somewhere in the middle is true. Anyway, I got to go take the dog out and get to bed. I've got a lot of work tomorrow that I've been putting off yesterday and today. So I got to sit down and start doing some schoolwork. So I will check you all later. Thanks for showing up, and take care. Good night. Night, Lisa. Thank you.